Have you checked your star sign today? What does it say? I'm sure it must say today is the day that you do sine rule. Well, joke over. What's the learning objective? We first understand the concept of sine rule and when to use it. We then apply sine rule to find some missing length and missing angles, and then we also need to acknowledge the ambiguous case, which is the trickier part of the sine rule. To begin with, have a go at the starter question. There are 3 questions, 1, 2, 3. Pause the video, have a go at the question. When you're ready for the answers, you can press play. Here are the answers for the starter. For question 1, when x is on the numerator and you've got a fraction, you just have to multiply the denominator to the other side and then make x a subject. For part B, when x is in the denominator, and what we can do is we can flip both sides together. So 4 over x becomes x over 4, 8 over 5 becomes 5 over 8, and then we multiply by the 4 across, and we got our answer. For part C, when you do the inverse sine of 0.7, make sure you see a letter D on the top of the calculator. It means it's in degrees. If it is in R, you can go on the mode, press or shift menu to do the setup to make it back to degrees. Otherwise, you get a different answer. Your answer should be 44.4 degree. Now, if you know your sine graph quite well, you should also get 135.6, but that's really optional. It's not really compulsory for now. For question 2, sine graph. We know that sine graphs start from 0 and then back to the cycle, back to 360. For part C, when sine 30 equals 0.5, using a symmetry of sine graph, we know that's part of also, if that's 30 degree, that will also be 30 degree. And we know that's 180, so 180 minus 30 is 150. If you press in calculator sine 150, you also get 0.5. This is a sine rule formula. There are 2 versions, but they are essentially the same. One has the A, B, and C on the top, and the other one has a sine A, sine B, and sine C on the top. So if we were to find the missing length, then we usually put the missing length on top. So whatever the unknown is, we'll put it on the top. If we were to find the angle, then we'll put sine A on the top. The reason being that is that in this way, then your variable will always be on the numerator. It's like you're comparing question A and B in the starter. If you know how to make the variable and denominator back to the top, like what we did in here, it's not an issue. It's just an extra step. So in this way, personally, I will follow. If I have to find missing length, I will find A over sine A equals B over sine B. If I find the angle, I'll do sine A over A and sine B over B. So you'll always be thinking, what are the 3 parts of the formula? Isn't the formula has only 2 parts? Yes, this formula is actually a ratio. So it is measuring a ratio from B to sine B. It's the same as A to sine A and C over sine C. So essentially, to use the formula, you only need 2 parts of it, really. Okay, so the sine C part is sort of redundant in a sense. Right. So some keynotes in here. We usually set the missing length as A, small a, missing angle as capital A. So capital means the angle. Be mindful of the ambiguous case. We will talk about that in more details later. I also want to write this down. I want you to write this down. So when to use. So you will use it when it's a triangle with 2 lengths plus 2 angles. Now students often do mix it up with cosine rule, which we'll talk about in a separate video. So do write this down. So if you have 2 lengths and 2 angles, whether they are unknown or not, then you're using sine rule. First example is a missing length question. In a triangle ABC, AB is given 7 centimeter, angle BAC is 105, and angle ACB is 40 degree. Find the length of the side BC. So I'm finding a missing length BC, so let me make this A. So I'm going to use the version where the length is on the top. A over sine A equals B over sine B. So A, opposite that one, and my B is 7 centimeters, so that would be my B, and that's opposite that angle. So my A is unknown. My sine A is sine 105 degree equal B 7 centimeter over sine 40 degree. Next, to find a, I can multiply denominator to right hand side. So a equals 7 over sine 40 degree, bracket, as a bracket, times sine 105 degree. Calculator will do this. So put the fraction first, 7 over sine 40. Make sure you close the bracket, otherwise it will give you a syntax error or a math error, some sort. And then press the arrow once, so you're multiplying the whole fraction by sine 105 degree. I was mentioning about this D symbol in here means degree. Now you might see an R in there. Hang on a minute. Let me try to do this with you first. So equal, that will be 10.5. So A equals to 10.5 centimeter round to one decimal place. It doesn't say, but just round to one decimal place. So what if your calculator is not a D symbol on the top? What you can do is you can press Shift Menu, and then in a different calculator, it might have different symbol. In my one, I will have to go on angle unit, press 2, and then I need to go to degree. Okay. Your one might be simpler where you press Shift Menu, and then there's a degree on which whatever button you just click on that one. Now, just show you. Let's say if the angle is not degree, okay, it's not D on top. Let's try. If I press equal, you will see I get different answer. So you still get an answer, but it's just wrong, you know. So make sure you calculate if you're quite confident that you've put everything right, but it doesn't give you correct number. So what you can do is again make sure you check is a degree on top, right? Okay, so 10.5. Practice question 1. It's your turn. You have a go to find a missing value of x. So these are all missing length. Pause the video, have a go at the question. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. Here are the answers. Question A, quite a straightforward one. For question B, you do have to pay attention. The angle 112 is missing from the triangle, so you have to work out that missing angle before you can use the sine rule, because you must use the angle opposite to the missing length in order to use the sine rule. Same for question C. Give a bit more information. This is an isosceles triangle, so yeah, so both lengths are the same. This example, next we're looking at missing angle. So work out the value of theta. If you know theta is a very, very popular, Greek letter that used for angle. Okay, it's just a Greek letter, theta. So this time to work out missing theta, missing angle, we use the other version, which is sine A over A equals sine B over B. Right, so missing angle is going to be capital A, so therefore this must be small a, that must be b, and that must be small b. So we're going to write down, so sine A, which is sine theta, over 7 equal sine B, which is sine 37 over 6. We multiply denominator to right hand side, so sine theta equals sine 37 over 6 times 7. You can do two things. One, you can put this in a calculator and get a decimal, which is 0.702117527. Now, if you do tend to put in a calculator first, I do suggest you to write the full answer, mainly because you want to avoid rounding error. So then theta equals to inverse sine of that decimal, which then equal to 44.6 degrees. What you can also do is, which is also something you might want to consider, is you do this all together. Inverse sine of sine 37 over 6 times 7. But you must put in a calculator very carefully. So let's try it. Let's try one. So inverse sine of fraction sine 37, close bracket, over 6 times 7, close the big bracket, equal, so 44.6. Okay, so 44.6 degree. Your chance again. Practice question 2. Have a go and find the missing value, the missing angle x, and give your answers in one decimal place. Pause the video. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. For question A, answer is 44.8. 34 part B, 34.3. For part C, you do have to work out this inside angle, which is 60 degrees first, and then do the sine rule. So x equals 39.4 degree. Next one, we talk about the ambiguous case. It's like dishes in the kitchen, who wash it? You don't want a clear rule, say who wash it. So, you can pass on the responsibility to your siblings to wash them. Anyway, the ambiguous case means unclear rule, unclear case. So you have to be careful about them. In triangle A, B, and C, AB equals 4 centimeter, AC equals 3 centimeter, and the angle ABC equals 44 degree. Draw two possible triangles to illustrate the scenario. Well, why are there two scenarios? Why are there two possible triangles? The reason being is, okay, so AB, because AB 4 centimeter, so AB could be the longest length, That's one scenario. And the other scenario is AB or not. If AB is not the longest length, then you got another scenario. You got another triangle. So we can first of all draw how it looks. So if AB is the longest length, let's say, okay, so let's say with AC in here, so with A and C, 3 centimeter. If AB is the longest length, let's draw it like this maybe. Okay, then so that's AB 4 centimeter. Then that will be AC. Okay, so 44 degrees. So that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is, let's have AC the same position, 3 centimeter. Now, if AB is not the longest, then surely BC is the longest. So BC is the longest like that. Okay. So work out the angle ACB. So angle ACB is here. So what is the problem in here? You can see if AB is the longest length, X is an obtuse angle. But if AB is not the longest, X is an acute angle. So, well, ignore the fact that they're obtuse or acute. Let's try to work out the sine rule. Try to work out X, either both of them. Okay, so sine rule. So we have sine X over 4 sine A over A. So that's your A equal sine 44 degree over 3. So multiply the 4 across, sine 44 over 3 times 4. You get 0.926211606. That's your sine X. And then you inverse sine it, you'll get 67.9 degree. Okay, so if you look at the size of this angle, 67.9, which triangle does it fit the description? Well, this right one, because this value is acute. So how do we find the obtuse angle? Well, we can use a sine graph to help us. Now, that's 90 degree, and that's 180 degree. Now, what we know is, that's why I need you to do the starter question at the beginning. If X is 67.9 degree, let's say roughly here, that's 67.9 degree, I get an answer here. So if I go across, I can find another value in here. Using symmetry of sine graph, I also know that it's 67.9 degree. Therefore, the other answer in here will be 180 degree minus 67.9 degree, which is 112.1 degree. Now what you can do is, you can try to do sine, just double check, sine 112.1 degree. It should give you back to 0.926, same as that one. Okay, so yes, so therefore the other answer, so the two possible values, so angle ACB could equal 67.9 degree or 112.1 degree. Okay, so that's the ambiguous case. Ambiguous case means when you work out the angle, you have to be careful if you have to work out the obtuse or the acute angle. So back to here, in ambiguous case, give you a bit of keynote. In exam question, you'll be told or hinted which value of angle to use. For example, you can tell if they tell you the angle is acute, the angle is obtuse by the question, or from a diagram like this one, you can clearly tell this obtuse, this acute. So what's the shortcut? The shortcut is you do 180-degree minus the acute angle. That will give you the obtuse angle. So that's the shortcut. Yes, it's your chance again. Have a go at practice question 3. Pay attention to the size of the angle theta. We just talk about the ambiguous case. Be careful. So pause the video, have a go at the question. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. Question A, theta is obtuse, so you must do the basic sine rule quite well. And then at the end, it's just an extra step where you have to do theta equal 180 minus 69.7, which the final answer is 110.3. For question B, the angle is acute, so you don't have to do any extra step, so 53.5. But for C, angle is obtuse again, so you have to do the extra step. 128.6 is the final answer. Here's the final question, a little bit more complicated than the previous ones. The previous one more for understanding. For this one, you have to apply knowledge into workout value of x. Give you a little bit of hint in here. You might have to use sine rule more than once. So pause the video, have a go at the question. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. Here's the answer. The answer is 33.7 centimeter. If you got it right, well done. You can move on. If you got it wrong, or if you don't understand why you got wrong, then you can continue and listen to my explanation. Okay. So first of all, if I want to find x in here, now there are two ways to help you work it out. Depends on which way you found it. One, okay, so two methods. Okay, so method one, you can find dB first. Okay, or the other one is you can find DC first. So if you found dB first, okay, what you need to do is, okay, so it's a dB method in here. If you want to find dB first, what you do is that's your A. So A over sine 77 equals 10 over sine 26. That will give you A equals 22.22705741. As I said, any intermediate step with a long decimal, I would tend to write them all out just to avoid rounding error at the end. What I also noticed is this angle is missing. I can work out quite easily with 180-degree minus 26 minus 77, so that's 77-degree as well, and therefore that will be 103-degree. If that's 103-degree, that's 40. That will be what's the angle in there? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, right. So A equals 22.222. So we've got that. Then what we can do now is we can use sine rule again within this triangle in here again. So x is unknown. So x over sine 103 equals to A over sine 40. We know A is 22.22. So x equals to 22.22 over sine 40 bracket times sine 103-degree. Put that all in a calculator, you'll get 33.7 centimeters. Now, what's the other method if you want to find DC then? If you want to find DC first, now why would you find DC, you'd be thinking? Okay, the reason we want to find DC is because then we can use the full triangle to help us to work out, use a sine rule for the whole triangle. Anyway, to find DC, let me open a different page. Okay, let's say we find DC. Okay, if we want to find DC, this would be my A. Okay, so that would be my 77-degree. So same thing, A over sine 77 equals 10 over sine 26. So A equals to 22.22705741 again. Oh, it's a isosceles triangle, of course. So a equals that one. Then what you can do next is you can use the big triangle, as I said, sine 40, the 40 in a and the x in 77 degree. So you can do the same thing. So x is unknown, so x over sine 77 equals to a over sine 40. A is 22 point something, so x equals 22.22 something over sine 40 times sine 77, which you get the same answer again, 33.7 centimeters.